friends. This is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average babes come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A place where being yourself is the ultimate goal, where your opinion, your story, and your individual experience matters. Join me, your host B, and my guests for real and raw talks every week, laying it all out there so we can all help each other learn more, grow deeper, and evolve collectively. Now keep in mind, as a disclaimer, no one here is an expert and no one is giving any advice. This is strictly our opinions, thoughts, feelings, and for entertainment purposes only. Now with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Be Real Babe podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by the show today. I hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning listener, watcher, supporter, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for coming back time and time again. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy. I am the host of the show. And today, you guys, we're on episode 245, being real about our Hawaii vacation. I am so excited you guys are going to be going over our recent trip to Hawaii and just taking you through what we did, some things that I learned, some tips and tricks that I have for going for the second time, things that I absolutely loved, and the experiences that we had. If you've been around here for quite some time, December is always kind of a busy month for everybody, myself included. So I want to make sure to have some fun little light episodes and not bother anybody through the holiday season while everyone's trying to get everything done for the New Year's. So there's going to be a handful of interviews this month, but expect a little bit more me here in the podcast world for the last month of 2025. And then 2026, I have a couple more lined up as well. But I do have some guests for December. Don't worry, it's not just me. But this episode and then another one at the end of the year is going to be all me, just solo ones, which I haven't done all season, which has been amazing, you guys. Thank you so much. I've had so many more guests now that I moved majority of the Keeping Up with Canada and Internet Insanity over onto the YouTube channel only, has opened up so many more spots for guests. However, because I was just in Hawaii on the trip that I'm about to tell you about, things were a little bit dicey when I got back, and now we're full blown in the holiday season. So stick around for a couple more guests this month and then expect more in January. I'll take a little break and then I'll be coming back for season 11 in March, which is insane. In the end of January, I'll wrap up 5 full years of podcasting. And by the time this launched, this episode, this whole entire show should almost be very close to 20,000 plays. I cannot believe it. Thank you guys absolutely so much for that. It's incredible. Any listen on Spotify or Apple goes towards that, and I appreciate it so much. I also need to address before we get going that I am super sick. I've been delaying this episode, you guys. It actually launches tomorrow. I've been delaying this because I feel like shit, and I'm really struggling at breathing, so it's also going to make me struggle more through these words and the titles of some of the places. So please forgive me. I'm trying my best not to be a germ, and I'll try to edit as many coughs and sniffles as I can. But a couple are going to slip through, and my ego has been humbled because I have not been sick forever. And now I feel like I'm being punished for leaving the country, having fun, and bragging about not being sick. But anyways, guys, before we jump into this episode and I go through the trip and my favorite parts of Hawaii and Oahu where we went, I just want to remind you to like, subscribe, turn on notifications if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or Rumble. You can also leave comments. That helps me so much. You can go back and reach out to me if you want to know any past episodes. You can go back in the library. So if there's anything you like to help me hit that 20,000 before the end of 2025. And if you're trying to find me on social media, you can find me on TikTok or Instagram at the Be Real Babe or the Be Real Babe podcast. Now, if you want to sneak into one of the final episodes of this season, make sure to email me at theberealbabe@hotmail.com and I'll sneak you in. If you miss it, don't stress. We'll put you on the list for the next season. Thank you guys again so much, and let's get into it. All right, guys. So as mentioned, apologies. I'm going to be gross. So you're probably going to see, if you're watching a video, a little bit more cuts because I'm obviously just absolutely dying here with fluids. Apologies, but thanks for tuning in. So as mentioned, guys, me and Grant have not taken a trip out of the country for quite some time. Last time we left, we went to Vegas. So I was so excited. We got to go on a tropical trip over to Hawaii and going to Honolulu, which I have been before. Me and my mom went in 2014 for a mother-daughter trip, and we did so much exploring of Oahu, and we also went to the Big Island. And this time around, it was fun because then I got to do it with someone who I love in a different type of way. And we got to experience Oahu and Hawaii just in a whole different way. And I kind of wanted to share our trip and what we did and all the things that I learned along the way. And then also recount places that I went with my mom because it was nice with her. It was a lot more kind of historical, like that was the focus, right? Like we sat at the beaches a little bit, but we were there to explore and we were looking at things, and it wasn't really more focused on eating and experience. It was like going to do as many things and learn as much as we could back then. And that was a long time ago, and I've smoked a lot of weed since. So a lot of this stuff was either repeated, some of it was repeated, but a lot of it was new, or maybe I had smoked it and forgot. So I thought, what a good episode to share, because like I said, December is a little bit quieter month on the podcast. And I really want to make sure when I'm having guests on that we're really focusing and getting their story out there. So yes, join me. And if you don't want to listen to the episode of me going over Hawaii, totally understand. We have an awesome guest next episode, and Hales is coming back for a Christmas special that'll be launching on the 19th. And then the last one of the year, we're just going to go over 2025, not only for myself, for the world, Canada, all of it, pop culture, everything. What the fuck happened in 2025? Let's go through it. Let's release some of it and then welcome some new 2026. So that's what you can expect this month. So totally understand if you want to wait for the next episode, but if not, let's go through it. So yeah, as mentioned, we went to Oahu. So for those that don't know, that's on that's one of the 4 main islands, I guess you would call it, the ones that are a little bit bigger and that people travel to quite often. There is, and I wrote all this stuff down because again, being sick, came home to month end. I don't want to screw things up. So I just made sure I have a ton of notes, and I'm going to butcher all of the names. It's just my Canadian French. I apologize. I listen to the words and I'm never going to be good at this. So I'm going to say sorry now. But the 4 islands are Maui, Kauai, Kona, which is the big island, and Oahu. And then there's also the smaller islands, which we'll get into a little bit more down the way, because I want to talk about these a little bit more. But those are the 4 main islands. When we went to book it, I know when I was getting my passport, the fellow was kind of like, oh, you're going to the most touristy one. And it was like, well, yeah, because it's Grant's first time there. And I don't know what's wrong with going to touristy places. Like, I understand it's cool to experience it outside, like, of the resort, let's say, but Hawaii's not really a place where you go on the resort. There's definitely more of the commercialized, I guess, say, side of it, like with Waikiki. And then you look at, I kind of always like, it's like a mini strip, but then you can go to the North Shore and you can go into towns and see a little bit more, right? So it's not like you're off resort or on resort in Hawaii. You can really experience culture of Oahu throughout the whole island, right? That was just our experience. And there's a lot of stuff there. So it's like we could do a lot at once. And that's what we like to do. We like to go to restaurants. We like to try different drinks. We like to go shopping. We like to see the culture of the place on all aspects, right? So that's why Hawaii was so alluring to go back to, because for one, with my food allergy, I haven't left the country for a while, so it made me feel kind of good that there was definitely more access to hospitals and medical care if needed. And on top of it, it's somewhere I've been in. I'm just a person like that. I just like going places I've been. I like to go to new places too, but first time out of the country in the wild without THC and without my cats, I needed some place that I felt more familiar with, and I felt more familiar with going to Honolulu, like I said, because I'd been before in 2014 with my mom. So we of course picked Oahu because I'd been there. Maui's, obviously, from my understanding, it's all of them are beautiful, but I heard Maui's a little bit more expensive, as well as the other 2. The big island I heard is a little bit newer. However, when I did go with my mom, we did do a helicopter tour that went through volcanoes and all these like tunnels, these lava tunnels, and then we seen a big luau. It was beautiful. It was an unreal day. Very busy, very, very busy day. We went to a bunch of different places on the big island. It was very expensive. The prices have changed so much in the last 10 years too. Oh my goodness, like skyrocketed prices. Back then, it was only, I think, maybe $150 for us to go over for the day. And now that's hundreds of dollars to book a helicopter to the other one. So obviously, if you have the money, do it for sure. But this one, we're like, let's just stay here. So yeah, I understand that some people are like, oh, you went to the touristy part, but it's like, yeah, there's tours set up. There's other people that are doing the same things, and when I go to another country, I truly want to stay where it's like people are expecting tourists to go, right? I would hate, not that I hate, everyone's welcome, but it is nice when, you have your own secret places and those gems, and they are kept, locally. So want to respect that. It doesn't bother me to go to the touristy part of places. And obviously if we get to end up in places that aren't, that's great. But that didn't bother me too much. So when we left this time, we had a morning flight out of Kelowna. I went to leave at I had to be there at like 3:30 in the morning, which is kind of fine for me. I'm an early riser. That part didn't bother me. But I was obviously going to miss my cats. I was very, very grateful. My mom came up the weekend before, so I had to spend the weekend with my mom, and then she stayed here and watched the cats full time. Because if you guys know me, I am obsessed with my cats and I love them like they're children. And so for having someone here 24/7, especially because we have a senior, just made me feel a lot better. And then I get to see my mom, and then she gets to come up and hang out with her grandcats for a week. So that was really beautiful. And we got to decorate for Christmas when I got back, but we'll get there. So we left first thing in the morning, drove in. Kelowna's airport is getting redone. I can see it's being super busy, so I'm glad we are expanding there. So seeing that parking got better since the last time we were there. We checked in, everything was fine. We went through, nothing really to report. It was pretty standard. I think we are both just kind of tired because we both worked really hard to come up to this point to go on the trip, and we were just kind of like, you want to enjoy it, but you've got a long ass flight ahead. So flew over to Vancouver, no problems there. Then we flew all the way to Hawaii. I think it was 7 hours about on the way. And for those that don't know and were confused, I wasn't too until I looked it up. But Hawaii, because we're in BC, is actually 2 hours west if you're looking at time zones. So when it was 3:30 a.m. here in BC, it was actually 1:30 a.m. in Hawaii time there. So that was quite a jump for us. We weren't used to that. We're used to going back east and going the opposite way, but it was very trippy to be before anyone in BC. I mean, I get that feeling when I talk to people back in Ontario, but yeah, it was just like, oh wow, no one is awake, or by the time we get up, everyone was already in their work day. So it was quite the adjustment. The flight wasn't too bad. I downloaded some YouTube. I paid for premium for the month so that I could download videos so I could just watch them, and I was kind of in and out sleeping, just trying to get as much as I could so that we could just go explore as soon as we got there. And the flight wasn't too bad because obviously we're over the ocean the whole time. There was a little bit of turbulence, but nothing crazy, nothing that made me sick or panicky, which is so great because I hadn't been on a flight like that in a long time. And then we landed. The weather wasn't awful. It was just kind of like muggy, right? With Hawaii, I noticed that it just moves really quick. It's really windy all the time. And it's just like you see clouds and all of a sudden they're above you, but then sometimes they take a little bit longer. Or they're kind of like Kelowna where, around the mountains there, they kind of like have all the clouds all the time. And then you're kind of nice on the beach. So when we got there, it was kind of like that with a little bit of spitting. But one thing I will say is that we didn't really know. We just jumped in a cab. I would say if you have the ability to order an Uber, do something like that, probably save you half the amount of what we paid for when we got there to when we're back. I understand there was rush hour when we landed as well. That could be factored in, but it did seem like we saved a lot of money by Ubering to the airport. So that's one suggestion. One thing we learned right away when we got dropped, we're like, oof, wow, okay. And then one thing too as well, I don't know if I mentioned on here, if you guys have known, listening to my stories, apologies if some of this stuff is double knowledge, but we decided to go with an Airbnb versus booking a hotel. It was just way more cost effective, and we wanted to be able to buy food and be able to make it, and the kitchenettes were so much more. And the way that the place that we worked, where we stayed, I just want to make sure I'm getting it right. We stayed at the Wakiki Monarch Hotel. From my understanding, and we didn't ask, this is just from what I'm seeing, one side was the hotel, and then the other side was like Airbnbs and people's personal homes. So we stayed in the Airbnb, and there was someone that was right beside in their personal space there that they lived in. So the Airbnb was then redone. It wasn't the same as a hotel, and I'll get to that at the end of the story. At the end of our trip, we end up going somewhere else at the end, not for any bad reasons, just the way that Airbnb works. But anyways, beautiful little room. It had a double bed, and it was overlooking it. You could see, even though weren't right on the ocean, we're maybe 10-minute walk from the ocean, we could still see the ocean and all the mountains there, or the mountains behind us there, and then all of Waikiki right in front of us. There's kind of this little canal. What was the canal called? The Ali Y Canal. From my understanding, Y means water. So that was the canal. It was about 10 minutes from the Hilton Lagoon, from the walk, which is right on the water there. So we were right on it, but you could see it, and it was beautiful. And there's this nice big TV that we got to like watch on the nights that we were cozying in. And then it was a nice little kitchen with a stovetop. One thing, not that it matters, it's definitely no ovens. It was a stovetop, and I don't know in our mind if we thought it would be different. But when cooking like steak, there was barbecues upstairs, but if people were using them on the pool deck, then you're kind of screwed. But there was options. But in the Airbnb yourself, it was just the plates. But whatever, there's a little fridge. They had all the different cutlery, which was really great. And the bathroom is huge, actually. Really beautiful bathroom, great lighting. I always notice that's always something in the hotels that have great lighting. It's my favorite thing. Like, thank you, you're already on vacation. It gives you that extra glow. So yeah, we went and checked that out, put everything down, kind of got changed into a little bit more, appropriate Hawaii versus Alberta, or sorry, BC, Canada attire. And then, yeah, we went to go out. Like I said, we went to go find food. We went to a place right across the street. It was called Wakiki Brewing. It was delicious. Grant had tacos and a beer, and I had kind of like a fruity drink that was like a colada with a little extra and a burger. I am a burger girly. Wherever I go, burgers. One main thing is because, again, I mentioned my allergy, but it's black pepper. So sometimes it is really hard on random dishes, but I find burgers are pretty okay. That for the most part, they can put together a burger without much complaint. So I had a burger. Again, pricing. This is something we knew when we went there. You're not going to, from what we could see, even in the lower end places, we couldn't find anything less than about $20 to $30 American per person per food. So just keep that in mind if you are going there. I know people say it's expensive, but that's what we've noticed. Even places like IHOP or let's say, and I'm going to get to IHOP and like McDonald's and stuff like that, all of it was still, from that American. So when you're looking at Canadian, you got to add an extra, like 30 cents, a dollar, something stupid like that, 40 cents. So keeping that in mind going down there, we knew that going down there, we budgeted, and that's why we picked a kitchenette so that we can make a couple meals so we weren't having to pay, $150 a day. If we didn't need to, we could make breakfast at home, go to the ABC stores and get, sandwiches and stuff like that, and keep it a little bit under than any of the fast food restaurants, which of course they are down there. They're a little bit different. They are fun to go to for sure, but they're not like cheap like they are here up in Canada, where you can find a cheap meal as we can find anyways. This is just our experience. So after we had dinner, had that all good, we walked down to the Hilton, which has kind of got this little lagoon that kind of goes right across the beach. It's super beautiful. In the lagoon, it's water, so people can still kind of be a part of the ocean without being a part of the ocean. And it go right back onto the Hilton Hotel, where they have a lot of events there. Beautiful. And that's where they also have fireworks, which we'll get to down the road. Just a beautiful little place. So we went and walked down there and kind of sat there. Like I said, it was pretty cloudy, so we were kind of struggling to feel the heat, but we wanted to just lie there and have a drink. So we just kind of sat by the lagoon because it was kind of protected from the wind a little bit in there too. So we thought that was a good spot, have a couple of drinks, try and get as much sun as we could, but it started to drop the temperature. So we thought we'll just go back, we'll watch a movie. It's travel day. We weren't expecting too much. We had a 7-Eleven right by us. We go there, grab a couple things that we needed, some snacks, and went back and just watched TV for the night. And I don't know if that's all of them. I noticed that they do sometimes have like Netflix and Tubi and all that, but this one, it had we could watch New Girl, which was great because I am a comfort girly. I like to watch my comfort girl shows, and Superstore is my comfort show, and that was not available on American Netflix. I was devastated, but on Disney Plus, which was on this little box that they had, there was New Girl, which is one of my top ones too. So I got to watch that and just fall asleep and have a good night looking over Honolulu at nighttime, which was absolutely stunning. We had a very good first date, even though it wasn't like perfect weather. Oh, I forgot to mention, again, I wrote all this down because there was so much going on. I wanted to make sure I capture all of it. So before we went to bed, though, when we went back, we went to just go in the pool because it was kind of raining. We wanted to see what it was like up there. And we sat down and I looked down, and sure enough, there's a little area that says Cannabis, and they had what they deemed as their cannabis down there. Now it's very low on THCA, so it didn't really give me too much of a high, but it was something that was there. It was legal there, and I was able to pretend to at least smoke weed. It was good enough for the week. It made me so happy to be able to just have something. And even though equally proud that I didn't need to have it, but it was just ironic that the first day we kind of sat down, we looked, and there's one, and I had to laugh at myself for sure for that. So I was able to find a decent cannabis, not Canadians. Hawaiians, if you ever want to come up here, you're more than welcome to come up here, and I will share with you our weed because it's something else, but blessed to find something nonetheless. So that, like I mentioned, we went to bed early, and the next morning, because we went to the ABC stores earlier and got things that we needed from the 7-Eleven, we had eggs and bacon and toast, so we were able to make that in the morning, and we had a nice breakfast. And then we decided we were going to go to the zoo, and we were going to do Diamond Head. Now, Diamond Head is a big crater. I'll go through that in a little bit, but we thought we're going to do both. And so we went to the ABC store, we bought our bus pass, we thought we knew where we're going, we asked the ladies. They told us one bus. We thought it was another. They said across the street. There was several places that could have been across the street. We got really lost and kind of not frustrated, but just like, what the fuck are we doing? Where are we going? We ended up just walking our way to kind of like the most popular part of Waikiki Beach, kind of towards where the zoo was, just trying to see if we could figure it out. And then we just ended up fucking walking the whole thing. I did also forget to mention before we went out to go walking about after breakfast, we did try to go to our gym at the hotel. I'm not usually a picky gym person, but this was bad. It was definitely not one where it's like, we like to go to different gyms to like see what it's like in other places. And this was definitely just a bunch of stuff like no shade to it. It just, we both were in it. We're like, you know what? We never not work out when we're on vacation. Let's make this our first time. And so we did. I'm super proud of us for doing that because we never not do that. And again, it's usually to, you know, experience a gym in other places, but none were close to us. So we just thought, forget it. We're doing enough walking this whole entire trip. But we did try to attempt the gym, but it didn't work. So anyways, like I said, we decided that we're going to walk to the zoo. It was about a 25 to 30 minute to that part of like Waikiki Beach there. So it was quite a long walk, but that's fine. It's totally worth it. We made it all the way down there, and then we realized like we're not doing Diamond Head today. By the time we're done the zoo, there's no way like we're not figuring out what bus it is. We're not going to be able to walk from here. Like that is just too much. And then walking all the way back, let's just go to the zoo. We'll kind of walk and travel our way back and kind of get to see this place in this part of Waikiki. And then we'll go back to the hotel and reassess what the fuck's going on. And so we went to the zoo. There's so many zoos there. One thing I absolutely love about Hawaii is all the birds literally everywhere. But the amount of chickens and roosters that are there is absolutely insane. From my understanding, I guess the legend is, and again, I'm just trying to remember everything that I was told. There's so many nuggets from Hawaii, but it sounded like a hurricane went through and it opened up all the chicken coops and they all ran free. And so now they just run free forever. They just thought, forget it. And from my understanding, it is legal to use them for food if you need to. It's not, you know, like illegal from my understanding. So that's one thing that there's abundance of is there's a bunch of fruits and vegetables and chickens everywhere. So not only birds, a lot of birds inside, a lot of birds outside as well of the Honolulu Zoo, but there's all these different kind of monkeys, there's elephants, giraffes, there's just absolutely beautiful. And then there was lions, tigers, there's big turtles there. There's even domestic animals there like goats and again ducks, and they had their national bird is very close to like geese. I can't remember what it was called, but there's a bunch of those in there as well. Just a beautiful place. And as we were leaving, we could hear this crazy noise and we couldn't figure out what the fucking noise was. It was one, I can't remember the name of the monkeys, but it was a pair of them and they were just hooting and hollering away. They were so loud. It was so funny. So if I have time to remember, I'll put some of the clips in here. And hopefully, if I remember through this episode, if I have time, again, I'm uploading it the night before. I will try and put some pictures in for those that are watching the video that you can kind of see some of the things that I'm talking about as I go through this day. But anyways, yeah, we also see lemurs, and there's warthogs as well, and hippos, and there's lots of ponds with fish and a lot of koi fish like that too. Just absolutely great zoo to go to. It was decently well priced. Everyone was super nice there. So we had a good time. It was medium heat. Again, it was hot, but there was a lot of clouds. So it didn't feel as hot. So we were able to do all this exploring, which was what we kind of wanted to do before it got like super hot beach days. Cause the days with full sun and alleged no cloud, there was no days with no cloud really. We thought those were better for like roasting days, you know? So after we went to the zoo, we walked back, kind of checking out the shops, went around the beach. I think it's called Koihoa Beach. It's kind of like, I feel like peak busy of the Waikiki beach there. There's a lot of stores and restaurants, and it's always very busy down there. There's like a McDonald's, there's the cheeseburger in paradise, which we'll go over, and just a lot of shops. There's like lines of like rich stores that you can walk through, and then the normal price stores and ABC stores. Every third or fourth store is insane. There's so many ABC stores, which is great because you could always use something from ABC's. But when we walked back, there was like this little food kind of like market right across where there's a bunch of independent restaurants. So me and G went in there. It was a place where I got my cannabis. Finally got a couple joints. 15 American dollars per joint, by the way, 1 gram. So not even real weed. Wild. So just be prepared for that. And then Grant got this nice chicken and rice dish, and then I went and got beef and broccoli rice dish. And then we went back, we ate, had a nap, chilled out, and we're like making an assessment of what we're going to do for the rest of the night. So after that, we did go down to the beach to try to attempt to sit in it again. But again, it wasn't the nicest weather, so that didn't last long. So we went back to the hotel because it did look like it was going to rain, which it ended up raining. So we went to a place called Tipsy Tiki for some drinks, and that was inside. It was like really cool. It was again all these different kind of like restaurant booth kind of things and different different types, and then also different kind of drinks. And there was a guy in there singing. He was doing a bunch of like millennial songs, and he was mixing them up to make them kind of like more slow and island vibe. It was really great. He had really good music, so we had a couple drinks there, and it ended up raining, and I was freezing. I was not expecting to be cold, and I was like, okay, next time you go out at nighttime, bring a sweater. It is nice and hot, but it on in this like it's their fall, right? So going into the winter. So even though it is warm, when it's windy and there's water and you're tiny girly, you do get cold. So I was a bit chilly, but we made through and walked back after. It was so nice. And again, every time we have chance to, we go back to the hotel, we go on the pool deck just to kind of see what it's like at nighttime. It's so beautiful, and just chill there for the rest of the night. And then yeah, so we came back after that, and we watched Daddy's Home too, which was really funny because it's like kind of a Christmas movie, but not, which is perfect timing because I one thing I absolutely loved was Hawaii was just starting to decorate for Christmas. There was so much all over the place, and as the days were progressing, more and more was popping up. So it was just really nice to see. I got 2 ornaments from there for the Christmas tree this year, and it was cool to see it. Like I said, as we're there, there was sandcastles in the mall that had all these this whole Christmas theme, and they had turtles with Santa hats, and they had a bunch of different Christmas trees popping up with all like nautical themes, and like obviously made it totally Hawaiian. And then lights everywhere, lights all over. There's Christmas lights on the trolleys, and more and more trees and decorations were popping up as time went on. And I was just thrilled, even though for me it's hard to relate like Christmas and tropical weather, obviously because of fucking freezing in here and snowing. But it was just cool to see the beginning of it and then still be able to come home and experience what I know to be Christmas. So yeah, we watched Daddy's Home too, and then the next morning, and then we figured, okay, we're gonna go to Diamond Head in the morning. We figured out what bus they were, where we're supposed to go, all that kind of stuff, which is so good. But we made breakfast at home again, and then took off. Um, to the bus to go to Diamond Head, which was created, I believe, around 300,000 years ago. So very, very old, very famous crater that people go and hike. I went with it. I went to it with my mom when I went in 2014. So it was really great to be able to go with Grant this time, and same time, both times weren't the quote unquote nicest weather. It was kind of cloudy. So both times I didn't get to see like a big clear, because obviously when it's clear the ocean's definitely brighter, but still both times very beautiful. And I love killing my spouse, so this was fun to be able to kill him going up Diamond Head. And so when you go there on the bus, you still have quite a walk up into the park, and before you go into the park there's actually some of those like outdoor equipment, so you can we didn't have time to go on that because we're like, I'm walking with the gorilla, I got to get him focused, get him on the trail, get him down. So I thought, well, maybe I'll get on the way down, but funny story, we'll get to that in the end. So we had to walk all the way up, with which in itself is a hike, but then you go in and you see it, and you're walking through this, old crater, which is so cool. And then you get to the park, and then you have to do the hike itself, which I read that it should be an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'm not sure if that meant round trip, because we were up there within 25 minutes. So I don't know if we just fucking cruise. We did stop a few times, take a few pictures, but again, sometimes, especially with a man that has much muscle and a little bit heavier than me, we really focused on getting to the top. And then we got to the top, took some pictures, and headed down. And it's just absolutely beautiful, because from Diamond Head, you can see all of Honolulu, you can see all of Waikiki Beach, you see all of the ocean. You can just see it. You see it from when you're down there so much. It's such a big vision when you're down especially in Honolulu and on Waikiki Beach. That's a big spot that you see. And so it's just cool to see it from the other way. And then we'll get to later in the week when we got to see it from the ocean. So it was just really cool to go up. Like I said, it took us about 25 minutes, give or take a few minutes, up and down. So the whole trip itself was about an hour. So I'm not sure if that was, again, round trip or people are scenic routing it, but we boogied up there pretty quick. And then when we got to the bottom, Grant looked at me and was like, we're taking an Uber back. And I did not argue. It wasn't too much money. I think it was like maybe $13. And so we're like, okay. And then we walked down. The Uber picked us up at the top, kind of met us halfway, and then brought us home. And he was really nice local guy, which is nice really to talk. I find all the Uber drivers are super nice, and you learn more about the area, and most of the people have moved there, so you get to hear about where they're from and the differences that they've seen with where they lived before to living in Hawaii now. So I really enjoy that part. One other part that we lucked out on when we did Diamond Head too is by the time we got to the bottom, that's when the sun popped out. So direct sun was a lot to climb up there, but because we had the break and the bit of the wind, it was a lot easier to climb up there. So we got to the bottom and then it really started to pop out. So we went back to the hotel, had some food, relaxed, changed, and then we went down to the beach and finally got to enjoy pure sun lying on the beach. We went down by Hilton, kind of just a little bit further down more, and just lied in the beach for a bit and just chilled and enjoyed the sunshine. And then we came back in from that. Then after that, we went to my favorite burger place that I mentioned before, Cheeseburgers in Paradise. It's when I went with my mom, we went for breakfast and went for dinner, and it was so good. One of the best burgers I've ever had in my life, and the exact same thing. And this time I was more into drinking, so I had something called a lava flow, which is a pina colada with strawberry puree. And you guys, I would become an alcoholic for this drink. So fucking delicious. So if you ever are down in Honolulu, make sure you go to Cheeseburgers in Paradise. Breakfast, dinner, lunch, does not matter. It's all fucking good. Their drinks are delicious. It's reasonably priced, just kind of like everywhere else, but it's good food. It's like drool in your mouth food. Like we walked 25 minutes every time we went there, good food. So we went there and we were watching as the sun went down. So that was really beautiful. And then we walked back on that beach. I believe it's Kuihoi, the Waikiki beach, I'm assuming itself, but that part right outside there, beautiful. It's just there's like a cop station there, and we walked all the way down and then went through the malls, and that's where we seen even more Christmas stuff that I mentioned. That's where all the sand castles were and stuff. Beautiful walk home. It's so stunning at nighttime, and to be able to walk through and see all the Christmas stuff. And we took some pictures and really got to explore that on the way back to the hotel. And then we went to the lagoon again, because Friday nights they have a fireworks show. If I ever remember, I will tag it in here. Just absolutely beautiful show. It was about 5 minutes, so just as it ends, I'm like, let's go, because then the whole park's going. And then we walked back to our hotel and again stopped at the ABC store, got things that we needed. But one thing that I was really struggling with that day is because I didn't really think in my mind like 25 minutes there, 25 minutes back, like almost an hour. And so I wore like cuter flip-flops that aren't like traveling flip-flops, and I definitely was starting to get a blister on the bottom of my foot, especially with the heat and the sand, and my feet were so sore. So I'm like, let's please go back to the hotel as soon as possible after this. And then I believe we watched Moana that night. Yeah, so I was straight up not having a good time with my feet, but that was my first time. And it was such a good night. It was totally worth it. Watching the sunset, walking on the beach at home was beautiful. And then watching the fireworks, because I love seeing the fireworks, and we were right there where they were exploding. So just absolutely beautiful way to end the Friday night. And then the next day we do a huge tour. Now the tour is quite long. So I'm going to try my best, because I didn't realize I'm already talking for half an hour. So I'm just going to go through the tour spots that we did and give my best to give a little bit of notes on them. However, this is something where I'm just more encouraging you guys to go down there and go visit there, because even though it is quote unquote decent amount of money, you get so much, and the people are so amazing and so welcoming there. The only time I ever felt anybody was rude was other travelers and other guests that were there and other tourists. That is one thing I will say that I did notice, is something that I'm always conscious of, is trying to, I'm not saying I'm the best, and I'm sure I have my flaws, but I definitely like to think about the people I'm traveling, like making sure when the tour bus says be back at this time, we were back at this time. We're actually always almost the first ones back every single time. And that's just because I think it's just polite to the tour guides, to the people that are trying to make your day run smoothly, and everybody else, right? I understand sometimes we get caught up, but you know what I'm saying. Continual difficulties. I don't know. I love Riverside, you guys, but it's without fail. By the time I hit half an hour, guest or no guest, there's issues. It just blows my mind, except for when I'm doing the YouTube channel. Anyways, so I'm gonna try and get through this. Like I said, there's about half an hour that we've already talked about. I did not even think this episode was gonna be more than half an hour. So let's go through this a travel trip here, and I'm gonna miss some things and I'm gonna mess up some names, and I'm so sorry, but I definitely think if you go down there, you definitely should find one. This one was about 100 and I think it was $150 to $160 a person, but it was about a 12-hour day, you guys. We went all the way around the island, and our tour guides were real. The main tour guide that was sharing all of his information, his name was Aka, and he was from I don't want to fuck up the name, Ni Hao. So that is one of the smaller of the islands, where it is actually private, from my understanding. That is very small community. There's not it's not Americanized, quote unquote. Is very still Hawaiian. They don't have the same advancements and progressions that they do in the other islands. So that's where he's from. So he said he was a true Hawaiian. So he was bringing us so much knowledge. He would tell us so much about his family and his wife that had passed, unfortunately, and his daughter and his brothers and sisters. I think there was about 22 of them in total, and his grandmother, and would sing us songs, and just literally the best tour guide. And I just want to make sure to shout out to them. So they were the Neo Tours. So kind of like Nui in French, so Nui Tours. And they did a grand tour around island, 16 locations plus snorkeling. So if you're ever looking for that, I definitely suggest going to them and having a look. Again, please feel free to message me. I'll send you the information directly. The bus driver, his name was Victor, and he was amazing. And it was really cool because there were so many people from all across the world on the tours, right? It was almost a full tour bus. So we got to see people from all over the world join us, as well as we're learning about Hawaii all together. So it was really fun. Everyone was super nice. And so we went on our first stop. So our first stop was the Diamond Head lookout point, which was super interesting because we had just hiked Diamond Head the day before, but this was a completely different lookout. It was very beautiful as the sun was just rising, because about just after 7 a.m. we got to watch the sunrise from that point there. It was really beautiful to see all of Waikiki and Honolulu just from a same vantage point but different, and then kind of look and see Diamond Head from that area as well. And so it was just really kind of like a moment where, like, we hiked that yesterday. We did that. Look at that. It looks so big from down here. And then we drove around and we got to see the coast. So the whole idea was going around the whole island, right, as best as that we could. And we got to drive past Hanama, which, from my understanding, it was Hanama Bay. But when we were driving, our tour guide Aka mentioned that Hanama, like, I think one of the words in it is bay, so it's like saying Hanama Bay. So I tried not to say it, but it's so hard not to, because that's what I know. Beautiful place. We didn't stop it this time, but when me and my mom went last time, one of our tours stopped there, and that's where our snorkeling was. Again, it wasn't a hot day. It was very cloudy and cold, so we didn't end up doing any of the snorkelings, but we got to go look at all the sea life that they had there in their aquarium there, kind of thing. And then you got to go snorkel down. It's a beautiful location. So if you do go there, I do suggest stopping there at some point. But because my mom had already been there, and there's other places me and my mom had been there, and there's other places we wanted to see, this one didn't stop there, which is fine. I would have been super happy if they did, but they didn't. And it wasn't a showstopper for me to stop the whole going on this one. But we did stop at something called the Halona Blowhole. It's just down from Coco Head, which is another huge famous crater in Honolulu, or sorry, on Oahu. It blows about a 30 feet natural blowhole, and I'll put that in there.
So let's go the other way. There you go. Whoa.
Again, if I remember, apologies. But there's no hike to get to these pictures, but you can hike down to the beach and the cave, the Halona Cave. And apparently down there, be very careful because there's big waves that come in. There's all these big cliffs, and there's people down there taking pictures. It's a very beautiful spot. And then some brave enough to go up around on the cliff. It was insane. I couldn't imagine what those pictures look like. Super beautiful. I'll try and share as many as I can in this video, if I can get to that tonight. And if not, just message me. Again, happy to share all this information with you guys. But it was super, super beautiful. Aka did a song and dance with his it was like kind of a flute thing, just absolutely beautiful, wonderful way to start the morning. Again, super windy, so any pictures we have, our hair is all over the place, but it was just really cool to see that part of these craters from that way, and how the natural blowholes, just, it wasn't a very choppy day. The wind wasn't going, so the blowhole wasn't as crazy, but it was still very cool to see. Then we went down to a place called Sandy Beach, another very beautiful beach, obviously super sandy, because the name, I guess, there they have lots of, I think it's called short breaks for surfing. So, you know, depending on what the weather's like and how things are going, I just have to be careful when you're surfing there, but it's a really good place to go and just see a lot of beautiful breaks in the water. And there's all these lava rocks that we were walking all over, and it's just absolutely stunning. Like at this time that the morning sun is coming up, and it's a lot more clear skies that day. It was just absolutely beautiful, running around looking at all the crabs and all the little like pockets of sea life that come through when the waves go up. It was really beautiful, and just made me have such an appreciation. One thing I noticed about going down there, the ocean doesn't smell like BC ocean, where it's not as much like seaweed and like cold and like that ocean smell. Like it's that's a little bit different with the tropical ones. It's not so pungent in your nose, as I noticed just from being a West Coast girly growing up. But that's one thing I noticed. So yeah, we stopped at Sandy Beach, went to the washroom. There's a beautiful mural about a woman there. Again, I don't want to say too much because I think you guys should go and take these tours, but there's just a lot of really personal, deep moments there of Hawaiian history that is just very cool to learn, especially from someone who lived there, who's lived and breathed the culture. And I really recommend doing it. The next stop was Makapu'u Lookout, which we see in the beach, and then there's two islands across the way. And one funny thing that Aka said is that it's a place that's known for the locals to make love on the beach. And then out and by the islands there is where a bunch of whales will birth their babies and have their babies and stuff like that, I think. So he's saying there's a lot of mating that goes around in that area, and it was just very stunning. Around there is a lighthouse that came from war times, and it's still used to this day from what I understand. And I also heard, and again, I could be wrong, but it sounded like at some point back in the day there was a potential German plane that was coming, and they were trying to use the lighthouse to get signal to see who it was or something like that, or trying to, not the lighthouse, but the lighthouse was on and they were trying to signal who it was, and they weren't responding, so they cut the light and the plane crashed, and it turns out it wasn't a good plane and it shouldn't have been there. So it was just really cool to see the bunker on the side, very, very tiny where they're watching, but it's just very interesting to see a lot of the stuff that was done, for army and military purposes in Hawaii, and some of it has been, disassembled since, and the overgrowth and stuff has gone over it. So that's one place that if we go back, I definitely want to go to the hike to the lighthouse. But we kind of just looked at the top of it at the summit and the point, and got to just learn a little bit about the area there. One other thing that was really cool is there's a bunch of lava rock that was just kind of guarded in by a cement fence, and it's just because they couldn't move the rocks. They just thought they landed there, we'll keep them there, and they kind of just look like these cool sporadic art rocks. It's really neat. So from there we went, as we drove by, there's a sea life park. There's like a big pier, I guess, that a lot of shows have been on around there, like Lost and all those. There's a lot of TV and movies that have been made down there, and so we also went to Waimanalo. I told you guys I was gonna fuck this up. Plaza, and there's a bunch of these like stores, and there was like kind of like a food truck on the side where you had this amazing pineapple with this delicious topping, and then I had pound cake. It was the most delicious pound cake ever. Grant bought a coconut and he drank out of the coconut. We went inside, checked things out. It's just very cool to see all these locals and all their different recipes, and how they could take something like a pineapple and just totally change it with just a little bit of powder. It's unreal. And from there we went to the Boyoden Temple, which represents a small scale replica, which I believe it says those are 1,000-year-old temple in Yuji, Japan. It's located at the foot of the Olau Mountains in the valleys of the temples and memorial park. So it's a place of worship, but it's not a place of religion. So you didn't have to worry about necessarily doing things 100% there, to worry about religion. And there's women that worried about what they're wearing there. It's more of a place for like peace and for everyone of all different types of worship there to just come and be there and meditate, take a moment. So you don't have to worry about following, certain, and not that you weren't respectful, but you know what I'm trying to say. It was more of a place of that than a certain worship of faith. It was absolutely beautiful. And we didn't hear this before, and I felt really bad. We just seen a huge line, and we thought, oh, we'll just go in. And apologies, Aka did a lot of talking. I tried my best to listen to everything, so I must have heard the part where he said to use the bell and then go inside. So we just thought, oh, there's a long line. Let's just not cloud it up. Let's go look in here first. We'll go check out the temple and the grounds, then we'll come back and do the peace bell after. So my apologies, but we did do the peace bell after, and from my understanding, Aka just said if you hear it 3 times and you bring us to Vegas. So I don't know if that was good luck. It sounds like it's good luck, but maybe that's lore. Maybe I misunderstood. Was that 3?
Yep.
But it's called, it's a 5-foot tall brass peace bell, also known as bonshu, that visitors are invited to ring before entering. The bell is rung by striking it with the wood log called shumoku, and it is believed to bring happiness, blessings, and a lifelong as a long life, as well as cleanse the mind of evil and temptations. The resonant deep sound is key part of the temple's tranquil and spiritual atmosphere. And it was so cool hearing everyone's gongs going through. It's such a beautiful place. There's koi fish everywhere. It just magical little places everywhere that you could go. Birds were just eating off of you. Just a very spiritual and beautiful place. There was fruit growing everywhere. It was just, yeah, I could keep saying beautiful, beautiful, but you know what I'm saying. And then as we go through, there's all these memorials and all these tombstones, and it's just beautiful to see a place of grief and mourning just being displayed with so much beauty and life as well. So we went there, and then they ordered food, which we'll talk about after. I didn't order any food just because of my allergies. I was a bit nervous, so I had already made sandwiches and stuff for the trip just in case, because I wasn't sure. Always play safe when you have allergies. But on the way, we did stop at this macadamia nut farm. Oh my gosh, I had it decorated. It was so cute. Most amazing macadamia nuts of my life. We bought some of them. Grant tried the coffee. He loved it, said it was so good. We didn't stay there that long. It was like a quick drop and look, but it was just very beautiful little farm. Then we stopped across from Kualoa Ranch. Now, if you go, the first time we went, me and my mom went on the whole tour there, and you get to go see a bunch again of the army places around there. And then you also go to the ranch itself, where you can go on the Jurassic Park tour and 51st Dates and all of that. So again, depending on what you want to spend your money on, you could go and do that. You could do it horseback riding, you could do it on the ATV or a bus. So many different ways you can explore. But on the other side, there's this big regional park, and then across the way there's something that is known as the Chinaman hat, but it's also called Moka Li'i Moka Li'i Island. That's right across, and it's you can we were kind of joked around. He said to hold it, so you could hold it like a little Chinaman's hat, and it's called that, by the way. And I'll again try to post pictures. It's named after obviously the design, and the not the design but the look of the island. So very beautiful spot there. And from my understanding, there was a hook there, and it was for Maui's hook. And I don't know if he was joking about that, but I believe he said it's for the live action of Moana, that the rock goes from this water there to the this hook that is sitting right outside of this ranch. But maybe I misunderstood, so don't quote me on that one. So on the way there, we stopped at this quaint little restaurant. There was a bunch of shrimp and rice food, and again, just worried about where we got changed for our bathing suits and all that kind of stuff. We bought a couple knickknacks from the store there. We went across the street and had lunch. Like I said, I didn't eat any of the lunch, but Grant could not rave more about this shrimp. He said it was some of the best ever. So if you are going there, reach out to me and I'll let you know where it was. It was kind of not on the maps anywhere on our trip, but I'm sure I can figure out where it was. And then we went to Poa'ina Point, and that's on the North Shore. I guess is one of the best smaller beaches for surfing. Obviously, we didn't do that, but people were allowed to snorkel there on the trip. They brought out snorkeling gear. We were good because we knew we were gonna have a couple more days on the beach ahead, and we just really wanted to absorb sitting down for a minute on the beach, and then we also walked a little bit so we could see as far out as we could on that point and just watch the waves roll in and the surfers, because y'all are insane. I don't know how you do it. So cool. Could not do it. So we just kind of sat for about an hour there and watched it. Then we went across the street. There was another coffee farm that we looked at, and there was kitties there. So obviously I didn't give a shit about the coffee because I don't drink coffee, no offense. I was focused on the cats, but Grant said amazing, amazing coffee as well there. So good to know that Hawaii has lots of good coffee. And then after that, we went to the Dole Plantation. The sun was starting to set, so it was becoming the end of our day. And this is what I was most excited about. Now, when me and my mom went to the Dole Plantation the last time, we did the little train ride and learned all about it, and we did the maze. Unfortunately, on this one, there was no time for it, but I just really wanted Grant to try the Dole Whip. Now, if you guys have ever had the Dole Whip on the plantation there, it is the best pineapple whip in your entire life. Your mouth drools. So we got to eat that as we were watching the sunset. And then we ended it by finally another one, but it's like a full coffee farm. We had to go through the coffee beans. You could just smell them in the trees. It was really, really cool. And then just kind of watch the sunset even further down the mountains. And then we took the decent way back to to Honolulu, to where we got dropped off. And the whole time back, Aka was playing this very cool game of naming a bunch of things that we use every day and sharing where they came from and who in the world brought that together. His messaging was very beautiful about how we are all one people. It was very loving. He said the islands and the lands might have separated us, but we're all one people. And his message really resonated with me. It was just very cool, and how he was trying to share, like, all of us have contributed something to society that all of us usually use, and we don't even know all the ways that we are, using each other's inventions and things like that. And I just thought it was very beautiful. So totally, totally 10/10 recommend going to the tours. I don't know if you can request ACA or not, but the man is amazing. Again, he talked to us the whole time, shared so much information. I shared some of it, but again, I don't want to do that. That's his work. I think you should go down there, so support those individuals, those small companies that are doing things like that, and get to see Oahu at a completely, and Hawaii just at a whole different way that you might not have if you were on your own. So we were home by 7 that night and we were done, you guys. We ordered pizza. We stayed in bed. I think maybe that was the night that we watched Moana. I can't quite remember. Watched TV, New Girl, whatever it was, and crashed the fuck out. It was a long day. For the most of those days, we were walking about 20 to 26K every single day. So by the tour day, it was still up there. I think we might even had more on the tour day. It might have been like 30. I know we got 125 the whole trip. So then when it came to Sunday, we took our time getting up. We went to breakfast, but then we realized where we wanted to go was closed on Sunday. We weren't paying attention to the days. So I convinced Grant to go to IHOP, even though he hates IHOP. I thought, well, you know what? Maybe it's better than it is in Canada. No, terrible food. It tastes like cat piss. Grant liked his banana pancakes, but everything else was absolute trash. I don't know how that place is still in business, to be honest with you. I was so disappointed, so upset, and it cost even more money. So anyways, after that, we went shopping. We did a bit of shopping, got some booze, and then we went immediately to the beach. We rented two chairs. You can rent chairs and the umbrella. We went kind of down a little bit further than where we had been at the Hilton. Just tried to take it down a little bit and just sat in the sun and played in the water for about 3 hours until your girl got so drunk she had to go home. It was about the end of our rental anyways. We thought, let's go home, take a break. We'll come back out after. One thing that I found was kind of crazy. Some of the bathrooms didn't have doors. So you're free peeing as you're sitting. And I was just drunk enough to not care. But that was something that I found kind of interesting. And I will say that's my one complaint about Hawaii. And at least in Honolulu, it's very difficult to find bathrooms unless you're a patron somewhere. Very difficult. And the ones that are there are just sometimes not the best, or they're closed. So keep that in mind if you're drinking and you have a small bladder like me. My only complaint though. So yeah, we stayed there till I think it was about like early afternoon. By the time we walked back, we got some Subway, went back, we had a nap because we're getting like sunstroke and heat. Then we had an early dinner. We went to Earl's. So we walked back down for 4 o'clock and had a nice early dinner there at Earl's. And then we went downtown. And then we went back to the hotel and we sat on the deck and just kind of chilled there, had our last drinks, had some wine. I actually started packing this day just because I'm one of those people that takes everything out into the drawers. So I just wanted to put all my dirty clothes away, get it separated, because the last 2 days I really just wanted to enjoy. And we're kind of having a break in the day and I was kind of drunk and in the mood for it. So I packed and then we just chilled after that. So the next day we went to go to a place called Egg Things down on Waikiki Beach. It was again 25-minute walk. We hustled down there and people were waiting, all good. Looked like they were short staffed. We didn't even look like we were going to get to, so we decided to go down to Cheeseburger in Paradise and have their breakfast. And I had a Denver omelet, and oh my god, you guys, it was the best omelet I've ever had. Their food is just so unreal. So we had that for breakfast. We went back, we did some shopping, get some stuff for us, for the friends, that kind of thing. Went back to the hotel, kind of just chilled for a little bit, went to the pool. We kind of just went into our places, got food, chilled a little bit, had a few drinks, all of that. And then because later that night we went on the Moana cruise. It was on a catamaran to watch the sunset, watching Diamond Head, and then cruise back and see Honolulu at nighttime. And that we had to be there for 5, so we wanted to make sure that we were there nice and early. So we came back after breakfast and we went shopping, and then ironically we came back for dinner because we loved it there because it's so delicious. Went to Cheeseburger in Paradise one more time. I was craving one more lava flow, and then we headed back and then went on to our cruise. It was absolutely beautiful. It was an all-women crew, which was super cool. I'm not a huge fan of on the water at nighttime. It's just something from my childhood that terrifies me. So it's kind of tripping balls the last hour of it, but it was really cool to watch the sunset. I got to see all of Waikiki and Diamond Head from the water. So that was really, really beautiful. So shout out to those girls there. Definitely suggest doing that. The drinks were really good too. I was just nervous about having to pee because, of course, when I went to get up to go to the bathroom, we hadn't turned yet. And just as I had chose to go to the washroom, that's when they decided to turn. And I was in the bathroom and I went flying forward, and I swear I knocked my equilibrium off and I was off balance, for the rest of the trip, but that's fine. That's fine. It was such a beautiful time. That's my bad timing. And then Tuesday we had to get out of the Airbnb by 11, but our flights didn't leave, or we didn't have to be to the airport till 8. And in our minds, we were thinking, let's just check our bags, no stress. We will then just fucking come back and get them. We'll hang out at the beach all day. That was not logical. It is super hot. We've been going for days on end, eating extremely a lot, and also drinking a lot, and just absolutely exhausted. So we thought, okay, fuck it. Let's just look for a hotel for the day. Let's see if someone will check us in. Lo and behold, as we're sitting in the pool, there's one for the same location, but just on the other side. So we went and checked in with them at 10 a.m. They said for sure. They gave us a slight discount. It was still a little bit of money, but to rent a vehicle or do anything like that was going to cost us a couple hundred anyway. So it ended up working out. We got a double bed. We just transferred over to the hotel side, and then we were able to still use the pool deck. We were able to go down and do some more shopping and just not have to stress about having a home base. So quite a bit during the day, we'd go do something, eat on our last day, go back, relax in the hotel for a bit, have a nap, because we were taking a red eye. So we also didn't want to be super exhausted, because I literally landed, came home, had a shower, ate, and went to work. Well, work from home, but yeah, super exhausted. So we went back and forth, but it was such a great idea because we still got to enjoy the pool and the sun without having to stress to go all the way down to the beach. On the last night, on the Tuesday, before we flew out, we also walked down to the water one last time to watch the sunset at the pier. And we also got these famous hot dogs, and we're able to watch the sunset one last time in Wakiki before we flew out that day. We took an Uber, which cost us so much less money, to the airport, got there. Airport's so easy, especially at nighttime. Got through, went to a restaurant, had our final meal, went into, I will say, the Waikiki, or the airport at Hawaii is, just make sure you charge your shit, because you can't charge, really, there's not many charging docking stations at the airport currently. So just make sure your stuff is charged. And then we went in the flight. I think I maybe slept 2 hours. I thought it would be a lot easier to sleep on that plane than it was, and it was not. I was just not able to sleep. Like I said, we got into Vancouver. Fast forward 2 hours, we land, I get in, we come home, shower, get to work, and I worked that night. And then we tried to watch TV, and I think I passed out at 7 p.m. I was exhausted. And the next 2 days went out physically out to work. And then Grant went back home on the Sunday, and my mom just went home a couple days ago. And now me and the cats are sadly alone, reminiscing about the amazing trip of Oahu and all of the pictures that we have. Like I said, as I'm recording, this is Thursday night because I've been so sick. I'm shocked I made it through this. I'm sure you can probably hear the strain in my voice. Apology, guys. This is the first time I've really been sick on the show too much over the last couple years. But I did not want to miss an upload, because after January, that'll be 5 years straight of never missing an upload on a Friday or one launch day, whenever the launch day was. And I'm super proud of that. So hopefully I can get in the videos. Hopefully this uploads, might be a little bit later on Friday, but thank you guys so much. Like I said, I still have 2 guests coming on for the month, and then you're going to end the year with just me solo, and I will end the season with more guests in January. Thank you guys again so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications if you want to help me hit that 20,000. Thank you for doing so, listening to this episode. And if you want other suggestions, just reach out to me on social media. I'd be happy to suggest an episode. There's a lot. I have a huge library. I get it's intimidating. So please just reach out. Thank you guys again so much. I hope your December is turning out a holly jolly. I hope you like my holiday green. I hope you like the Hawaii on my Hawaii hat, my aloha shirt. I hope you guys liked my recount of Hawaii. Please reach out if you have any questions. This is just from my experience twice. I definitely suggest going to more experts, but I did want to share of our amazing trip. It was so nice to get out of Canada. We are not going to wait another 7 years before we do a trip like this again. So if you want to hear about another trip next time we go, or us potentially planning our wedding as well, let me know if you want to hear about that. But thanks again, guys, for liking, subscribing, listening, being here. Fuck yeah. Let's go. Let's finish 2025 on a positive note, and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you guys so much for listening. I truly appreciate the support. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, please follow the Be Real Babe podcast on Spotify, Apple, and Rumble. You can also find me at the Be Real Babe podcast on TikTok and Instagram. Until next time, guys. Bye.